Ho fatto recuperare la che ho fatto io il contratto, perché un sacco di soldi alla regione di multa, hanno ritirato su 1,5 euro.
Obrigado. I mean, grazie. All right, we made it to Milan, not without a little bit of stress and adventure along the way. What should have been about a 4-hour trip turned into a 12-hour ordeal. We take the bus to Lisbon from our house and then a quick metro ride. But when we got to the airport, we find out, even though we had checked before, we found out our flight is delayed. Turned out it got delayed 4 hours. So we're just sitting there in the airport for 4 hours. Lisbon doesn't exactly have the greatest food court either, so it was a little grim for 4 hours. Then when we got here, it absolutely opened up. Raining, hailing. So the bus that brings you into the center of town here, he had to crawl. He was being safe, which is nice, but added onto the trip. 12 hours later, we made it. And thank goodness they drop us here right at the train station in the middle of Milan, Milan Centrale, because right on the corner here is a place I wanted to go, and this will be our first stop here in Milan. It's Santori Gelati. This place has been around since 1937, so nearly 90 years now. And it's nothing more than like a little food truck. I thought it was going to be a gelateria. No. So I don't know if they've been in this location since 1937. I'm thinking maybe they have. Anyway, we got our gelato. I got 2 flavors, stracciatelle and pistachio. Always get pistachio, right? Nice and creamy. Really good texture. Stracciatelle is good. And I'm gonna have to dig down to get the pistachio. Yeah, that pistachio, that's good too. The only thing I would say is I like bigger chunks of chocolate in my stracciatella. Stracciatella, you want it to be like shards of chocolate that cut the roof of your mouth when you eat it. This is more like a chocolate chip. It tastes good, but I would like to see bigger chunks of chocolate in it. Anyway, great way to start our trip. This little cup here was €3. Seems like a pretty decent price to me. And we're gonna be eating a lot of gelato, I have the feeling, here in Milan. This is the San Vittore al Corpo church here in Milan, and this is just a few steps away from the Last Supper Museum. So if you're going to go to see the Last Supper, and if you're coming to Milan, you're probably going to do that, this is worth coming to see, just to go inside and see the 16th century frescoes on the ceiling. These aren't large format frescoes. Don't think like Sistine Chapel, like giant fresco. It's dozens and dozens and dozens, maybe a couple hundred little tiny frescoes up on the ceiling. I'm sure if you get closer, they're not tiny, but they look small. And they're really very interesting. So it's worth a trip if you're coming to see the Last Supper, because you're going to be right here. We got up really early this morning so we could make the first entrance at the Last Supper. Starts at 8:15. But don't think you're going to just walk up. It's a very controlled environment, and tickets sell out weeks in advance. So make sure you make your reservation online before coming here. Otherwise, you're going to get shut out. Now, what happens is you show them your ticket, they send you through, and you go through a series of rooms where they dehumidify you. Because when you get in to see the Last Supper, the painting itself has been deteriorating for centuries because of the painting technique that Leonardo used, unfortunately. It makes for a magnificent painting, but it makes for a very delicate painting. And one of the things that's super fascinating at the Last Supper is that you can see through pictures the restoration process. If you look at what the painting looked like in the 70s before the most recent restoration. You're like, wow, it's barely recognizable, really. And then you see what they did, and a lot of it was very scientific and microscopic, also, almost in scope. So it's fascinating to see the history, but then you go in and you get to spend 15 minutes with Leonardo's painting, The Last Supper. And of course, it's magnificent. It's one of the masterpieces of the Renaissance. Even if you're not religious, I'm not religious, but looking at the painting strictly from an artistic standpoint, the breakthroughs in perspective that Leonardo had are just astonishing. To think that he was doing this over 500 years ago. Amazing. So we did that, and it was just absolutely fantastic. If you want to see other Leonardo stuff, he actually spent a lot of time in Milan. He lived here basically from 1482 to 1500 when the French invaded and he screwed out of town. But there's not a lot of paintings here by Leonardo. There's a couple others. There's The Last Supper, of course, but a lot of the stuff here is dedicated to his scientific ideas and breakthroughs. His idea for a flying machine, his idea for a prototype of an early machine gun, that's in the Museum of Science, which is actually right in front of me here, 15 meters away. So if that's what you're interested in, kids would probably like that. If you're traveling with kids, that would be something to see. If you want to see Leonardo paintings, well, those aren't in Milan. I mean, there's not a bunch of them in Milan. Of course, you can go to the Louvre and see the Mona Lisa, but that's not what Milan is for. Milan is for seeing The Last Supper and for eating gelato and risotto and cheese, and we're going to do all of that stuff while we're here. So we made our way up to Doce Namura, and we went to the castle first, just to hang out, see the courtyard. We didn't go into the museum. But the castle's pretty cool. It's worth hanging out there, and it's in this huge park, so it's a nice area. But then it started to rain, and we said, well, it's going to be a long walk to get here, and we're probably going to get really wet, or we can try and figure out the public transportation. So took our first dive into Milan's public transportation, which is supposed to be some of the best in Europe, right? And I have no doubt that it is. Unfortunately, from where we were, we couldn't take the metro, the subway, because it would have required multiple transfers to get up here. So we said, well, we'll take the bus. Figured out where the bus stop was, and in just beautiful Italian fashion, the bus is sitting there, people on board, and the driver is leaned up against the door smoking a cigarette. Excellent. We're in Italy, definitely. So I grabbed some change out of my pocket, and I, quanto, how much? And he goes, no ticket, just go on. And so he didn't charge us, he didn't ask for a ticket, we didn't have to validate anything, we just got on the bus. And then I noticed as we came up here, everyone was just getting on the bus. They weren't asking them, they were just getting on and sitting down. I tried looking it up on the internet while we were in the bus to see if are the buses free in Milan now, because some cities have done that. They've made free public transit. Not in Milan. I don't see anything about that. I looked, our bus is free on Saturday in Milan, because that's the day we're here right now. Nothing about that either. So I don't know what the story is. We're going to have to ask some people and find out why. Was it just this one bus driver, some guy who's bucking the system, or are buses actually free here in Milan, or is it a bus holiday, or is it a strike? What is the reason? We'll see if we can find out. Anyway, Doce Namura. This place is like an elevated bakery. Their stuff is gorgeous inside. And we got a little cappuccino here. It's quite good. It's still before noon, so we can get a cappuccino in Italy. And then I got this little fruit tart. It had blueberry and raspberry on it. Delicious. Light, little cheesecake filling. Perfect. This place is great. We've got a young woman making the coffee, but it's a old couple, husband and wife team, who are working behind the counter. The husband takes your order. If you're ordering pastry, he gets it for you. And then the wife, she's running the register. and she's doing it very efficiently. So this is a great little place, and they've got these gorgeous tables sitting out on the sidewalk. Luckily, they've got an awning, so we're not getting wet. Recommend this place to stop for your morning coffee. They've also got what looked like to be some really nice croissants, and our little fruit tart is really good as well. So Dolce Numero, thumbs up. This is Mocha Hodeda, and this is a place I've been really wanting to come to because I wanted to try a drink called a Barbaresia. And I went in and I asked for the Barbaresia, and the woman behind the counter laughed at me. She's like, no, you can't have that now. That's in winter only. We're in the middle of the summer right now. So basically, it's like a hot chocolate with cream and coffee, and but they only make it in the winter. She said, instead, what you should do is get this cafe sorbetto. So that's what we did. So I thought sorbetto, they might be scooping it, you know, like ice cream sorbet. They scoop it. This was in like a margarita, like a slushy machine. So they're just pumping them out fresh into this little cup, and I got to say, really light. No ice crystals in there at all. Just really coffee, beautiful flavor, and it's perfect for here in the summer. They have tons of sweets in there too. Of course, they've got the candied almonds and whatnot. I got this little treat. It's like a little almond pastry. Delicious. Perfect. Save that for later. And they've got these little triangular with their logo on. Okay, that's what I was hoping for. Chocolate hazelnut. All right, I can tell this is going to be one of those days where I'm drinking a lot of coffee. So we'll see. Maybe this is the last one for today, but I have the feeling it's not going to be. I'm going to be wired before this day is through. We're at Gino Sorbillo's. Now, I know we're in Milan, we're not in Naples, but Gino Sorbillo's, last time we were in Naples, it's been several years now, Gino Sorbillo's in Naples was talking about expanding into different cities, and now he's done it. He's here in Milan, I think he's in Turin and several other cities in Italy, but he's also in New York, he's in Miami, he's got one in Tokyo. So Gino's going for worldwide pizza domination. He makes traditional Neapolitan style pizza. They have gas-fired ovens, not wood-fired. Probably just easier to control temperature that way. But that's the way they do it. And I wasn't planning on having pizza here in Milan. Milan is just now starting to get some good pizzerias. You ask people from Milan, they'll tell you 5-10 years ago there was no good pizza in Milan. But I guess Gino Sorbillo probably was one of the guys that kick-started the pizza craze here. So we were coming by, we were going to go eat somewhere else for lunch, but we passed by Gino's. We were doing some vintage clothing shopping because we're in Milan after all. Didn't find anything. Fortunately, I can't show you a picture of me in a new vintage Armani suit or a nice hat or anything like that, or some cool sunglasses, because just didn't find anything that we really liked. But that's what happens when you go vintage clothing shopping. Not that I'm a big shopper. But anyway, we passed by Gino Sorbillo's and we said, okay, we got to go, because Gino's is definitely, if not my favorite, one of my definite favorite pizzerias in Naples, my favorite pizza city, the best, not just my opinion, the best pizza city in Italy and the world. So that's what we did. That's where we are. We're having pizza for lunch. Normally, you would get one full pizza for yourself. But, you know, we're going to be grazing throughout the day today. So I thought Karen and I would split one pizza. And what we did was we got the pesto with smoked provolone. And when she set down the pizza, it was like, you can smell the smoked provolone. You know, you smell that smokiness. It's just awesome. Now, I know people are going to kill me for using a knife and fork on my pizza, but we're in Italy. We're eating Neapolitan-style pizza. This is the way you do it. I'm sorry, New Yorkers. I'm sorry, other Americans. This is how you eat pizza in Italy, with a knife and fork. Soft crust, nice and thin. That pesto is yummy. Smokiness of the provolone. And you can see, get that caramelization around Now, we got to add some red pepper flakes. Geez, try and find red pepper flakes in Portugal. Good luck. So, add in a little red pepper flakes with this. Oh man. Should have got my own pizza. This is Gelateria Paganelli. They've been around since 1930, so they know what they're doing, almost 100 years old. We walked over here after we got our pizza at Gina Sorbella's, and we walked through a market. The fruit and veg market was just closing up, but around the corner, they had this huge, like, clothing flea market type place. People selling everything from socks and laundry detergent to skirts and tops and everything. And even though we struck out today at the vintage stores, Karen found a nice top she liked with an African print on it. Now, these are not vintage. These are just, you know, poly-based, but they have colorful designs and interesting patterns and really looking nice. So she picked it up. It was €10. So that's a good price. And then we walked by these modern buildings. So we're kind of in the financial district. And Milan is known for its finances, for its banks. Rick Steves once famously said, for every church in Rome, there's a bank in Milan. And it's true. Milan is the financial center of Italy. In some ways, one of the main financial centers in all of Europe. So there's a lot of banking here. It's a very rich city, probably the richest city in all of Italy. So we're in that area, and we walked by this building that is covered in greenery. So, two buildings actually. So all completely covered, like not plants, but trees growing on the balconies and stuff. And it's done to, you know, help the greenery, help the environment, put oxygen into the air, and to cool the buildings as well. And what I found interesting is there's a lot of places here in Milan, not to that extent, but they really make the use of their outdoor space and their rooftops to put a lot of greenery, like big plants. It's not just geraniums, you know, it's big plants. So that's an interesting thing in Milan that I really haven't seen in other places. Okay, gelato. Let's get into it. So, of course, we got some pistachio. And I gotta say, if you've watched my videos, you know that to me, pistachio is the gold standard. This is one of the best that I've had. So that's saying a lot. Their pistachio is really, really good. Then they had this really dark fudge. I mean, look how dark black that is. So I said, we got to have that. Chocolate and pistachio, in my opinion, goes together great. Really fudgy and rich and dense and creamy, and that is really, really good. Some slivered almond in there as well. So, good stuff. Nice way to have dessert after our pizza at Gina Sorbillo's and enjoying this gelato.
Gluten-free and vegan.
Obrigado.
You're welcome.
I mean, grazie. So we're in the Navigli neighborhood of Milan. That means boat, but it really means the canal neighborhood of Milan. There are canals here. This used to be an industrial area, kind of a wasteland, and then they revitalized it, and now it's this huge tourist area. I mean, we're not even close to sunset yet, and this whole area is just jammed with people. It is unbelievable how crowded it is down here. This place is called Ugo, and this isn't even on the main drag. It's kind of it's about a block up, really. But along the main drag, wow, it is crammed with people. Anyway, this is a cocktail bar. It's called Ugo, and I got something. They have a really cool cocktail menu. I don't know, about 12, 15 specialty cocktails that they do. This one's called L'Artiste, the artist, and it's made with gin and sherry. No, not gin, vermouth. Vermouth and Fino sherry, which is sherry from Spain, obviously. And it's also made with a liqueur from Abruzzo called Garanzina. I'm forgetting the name of it. I'll put it up on the screen. But anyway, it's made from a root in Abruzzo. And I've never tried it before. I've talked to people on my podcast about it, but I've never tried it before. So I was happy to order this. And it's a really nice balance. I thought it would be kind of harsh because of the vermouth and the sherry, but it's got a really nice balance. That vermouth, I think, must be a little bit sweet. And then, if you can see this tint of red in here, that's beetroot. So I don't know if they made like a little syrup of beetroot. Maybe that's what they did to add the sweetness to it, because it's not like chopped up beets, obviously. It's some kind of liquid, but they kind of went around the side of the glass. It's a very interesting presentation. It's probably not picking up too well on the camera. But that is quite tasty. I like that. Karen got a glass of Prosecco. It's nice. Not served in the proper glass, but that's okay. Okay. Not the best Prosecco I've ever had, but hey, what are you going to do? And then it comes with an aperitivo. So Milan is known for aperitivo, which means a snack. Some places you get this whole buffet of aperitivo, and you go in and just fill up your plate. Here, it's much more modest, but it's nice. I mean, look at what I got. And you get your choice of what you can get. So I got carrot sticks, I got olives. Really good olives. A little beetroot puree, some crackers, and then a little melon. And then Karen got something very similar. She got in addition, she got a bruschetta with some chopped tomato on it, looks like. And then a little bowl of potato chips. So it's a nice little snack to go with our cocktails. This place is crowded. I feel like we're lucky we got here early so that we could get a seat. Otherwise, we would have been standing probably or waiting. So good spot. I like Ugo. I'd be anxious to try some of their other cocktails as well, but my artist cocktail fits the bill. I think it's a good start to the night. This is Sacrosita Pharmacia, and this place used to be a pharmacy back in the 1800s. Now it's a cool cocktail bar. We're still in the Navigli neighborhood, but this is a world away from where we were before. There's a bunch of canals here in Milan, just like in Venice. That main canal, that Grand Canal place, that's where all the tourists hang out. And that's where it's so crowded with tourist bars and, you know, people selling tchotchkes and approaching you to buy all kinds of crap. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's what it's like there. We walked over here about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Had to go through a little bit of a more rundown area of town to get here. This is a nice area, but this is a world away. This place, it's all locals hanging out on an evening with their friends and enjoying cocktails, and I get the feeling there's not too many tourists in this part of town. So, let me tell you what I got. Karen got a French 75. She's always happy when she sees French 75 on the menu, and this is a good one. Prosecco, gin, and some citrus. So that's nice, perfect for her. I got something called a White Lady. Funny name for a drink. I'd never heard of it before. I was talking to the waiter. They have a huge menu of cocktails here, and I was talking to the waiter, and he was asking me what kind of stuff I liked, and he tried to get me to get a gimlet, and I'm like, what am I, my grandmother? You know? But so he talked me into this drink called the White Lady, and this has Cointreau, citrus, and gin. So similar to the French 75, but no Prosecco in there. So not as sweet, but it's a nice, refreshing drink for a summer night. So if you're looking to get away from the crowds and you're in the Navigli area of Milan, this would be a really nice choice for you. All right, so this is the last stop for us in the Navigli neighborhood. We're still right here on the canal, but we're in the less touristy part, a little bit less touristy part. At least there's not a scrum of tourists right here on the sidewalk. Our final stop here is Flora e Labora. This is a flower shop, a vegan cafe, and a co-working space. There's a bunch of people still late at night on a Saturday working on their computers inside. So it's kind of a cool concept, and we wanted a little snack before we went home for the night. So here we are. What we got was barbecued pulled pork. This is made from pea protein. Like I said, this is a vegan cafe. Vegan mayo and fresh tomatoes. Tomato season is right now in Italy. These tomatoes are, we've had great tomatoes here in Italy on this trip so far. So good. So I would say this to close out, you know, if you're gonna come to Milan, you probably wanna check out the Navigli neighborhood. If you want to avoid the crowds, come to some of the smaller canals or come earlier in the day. It tends to get busy on the weekends and at night, so you're not going to avoid the crowds. It's just, hey, that's the way of life. But it's still worth coming here. It's fun. You know, it's a fun area. That's why so many people come here. It's fun. There's tons of bars. There's tons of cafes. There's lots of places to hang out, lots of restaurants. You got the water. So there's all that going on. It's kind of nice. But everyone knows that, so everyone comes here. So it's been good, and we've had some good gelato too. We're going to do some more videos here in Milan. We're going to try some more gelato. We're going to try some more foodie places too. So we've got a lot more Milan coming up in future episodes, so check that out. But for now, saying goodbye from Navigli until next time in Milan.